Our next session is designed to help you excel in the America in Bloom criteria. We've asked longtime advisor Sue Amatangelo to walk us through the criteria that we believe can make communities more beautifully vibrant. You'll be taking a lot of notes during this session. Thank you, Sue, for your longtime support of America in Bloom and for being our speaker today.
Hello and congratulations. If you are attending the 2021 America in Bloom Symposium in the Sky, you are looking for additional ways to take your community to the next level. America in Bloom can provide the tools for you to get there. So let's work together to make your community a great place to live, work, and play. America in Bloom promotes nationwide beautification through education and community involvement, and by encouraging the use of flowers, plants, trees, and other environmental and lifestyle enhancements. The program steps are easy. Register your community in the America in Bloom National Awards Program, form subcommittees for the various evaluation criteria, create a community profile of all the great things going on in your community, develop an itinerary and share all that your community has to offer when the advisors come to visit, attend the National Symposium and Award Celebration in the fall, review the evaluation determining your next steps, keep identifying and implementing new ways to improve your community, and don't forget to celebrate your volunteers. America in Bloom believes that focusing on 7 key areas will help to make your community more beautiful and vibrant. These areas include community vitality, floral displays, landscaped areas, urban forestry, environmental efforts, celebrating heritage, and overall impression. Additionally, volunteer involvement is a critical component to making your community thrive. Once your advisors complete their time in your community learning all that they can about the 7 criteria, as well as community involvement, they'll work with their co-advisor to write up an evaluation. On your evaluation, you'll find A, an overview or definition at the top of each criterion, and B, a set of metrics specific for each criteria calling out programs, along with processes and your level of participation in each. Each participating community will receive a copy of their evaluation the Monday after the symposium, and it will contain the following: overall scores, an introductory letter, a score for each metric in each of the 7 criteria, the advisor's comments highlighting areas where you are doing well, areas for improvement, as well as challenges you face with recommendations and ideas for improvements, and information on your tour preparation, as well as recognitions in both a single criterion and a noteworthy project or initiative. When you receive your evaluation, share it with your committees and boards and meet to discuss its contents. You'll want to sort the recommendations, determine which ones can be done immediately, which are perhaps a 3 to 5 year opportunity, and which recommendations might take a bit more time, effort, and resources. Put together a plan of action with individuals appointed and dates for completion. Meet often to track your progress and celebrate your successes. We recently polled the advisors and asked them to share their top metrics for each criterion, and I will be sharing some of the results with you today, along with a few tips, ideas, and food for thought that will hopefully help to answer the question, what are the advisors looking for when they come to my community? Let's begin with community vitality. When looking up community vitality on Google, you'll find a myriad of different explanations of what it means. But one thing that is clear is that the health and well-being of a community has become extremely important to all members of a community. For community vitality, the criteria definition reads, policies, programs, activities, and facilities that lead to a vibrant community and a sense of well-being. It includes community centers, arts and cultural museums, parks, playgrounds, dog parks, farmers markets, sports fields, water activities, trails, libraries, and other outdoor recreational opportunities. The first and most important metric in the eyes of the advisors is a master plan in place for green spaces that are public and parks. The public park was intended to improve a person's physical and psychological health by providing a place for people to breathe fresh air, relax, and reconnect with the natural environment. Public parks today serve many more functions, providing amenities such as specialized playing fields, swimming pools, walking and biking trails, and even performance stages. Not only do parks make a community more enjoyable, they provide direct economic benefits because businesses, when considering a new location or expansion, increasingly evaluate a community's quality of life in order to attract and retain employees. A park and green space plan should be a collaboration of the community and its residents, analyzing existing park facilities and developing a long-range plan for park improvements, new parks, and the preservation of green spaces. Our second top metric in community vitality includes the following. Outdoor recreation facilities meet community needs. For example, playgrounds, splash pads, dog parks, sports fields, golf courses, and kayak or canoe trails. Trail networks are in place and connect to a larger network as well. Community vitality provides opportunities for young and old to get out, get moving, meet new people, and enjoy life, all part of a healthy lifestyle. So ask yourself a few questions. Do you have programs available at the community center, through the Parks and Recreation Department, at the local churches and schools, for all ages and all abilities? Do you have swimming pools to offer children a place to have fun, cool off, and to hone their social skills? If you don't have the resources for a pool, have you considered a splash pad or spray park? Both of these options are safe, affordable, zero-depth water attractions that can be installed anywhere and can operate on fresh water, gray water, or a recirculation system. Multi-purpose trails are also a great way to get exercise and to get out in the great outdoors. Trails are a great source of exercise for all ages, and the addition of outdoor exercise equipment will make the trail experience that much better. Trails can be set up in local parks or on community streets following markers that allow the beauty and history of your community to shine through. An app can map out trails, including distance and levels of difficulty. These pathways can be local and even connect to a number of other communities and throughout the state. Ballparks are a part of America's pastime, but they also provide many a young boy and girl a way to work towards their dreams. Towns without a downtown look toward their ballparks as a way to bring the community together, with the added benefit of enjoying youth baseball. But these diamonds are multifaceted as they teach our youth the skills of life, including teamwork, believing in yourself, and that practice makes perfect. In this age of cell phones and the internet, it also helps our children to gain the skills needed to effectively socialize with one another. Number 3 on the advisor's list is community vitality programs in place to encourage youth involvement and volunteerism. The social and emotional learning skills that come with volunteering are essential to the development and lifelong success of our children. Plus, giving back to our community promotes civic engagement and leadership. That's why many states require volunteer hours for high school students before they're allowed to graduate, and colleges and universities will always look for volunteerism on a student's application. Look to high school clubs like the National Honor Society, Science, Math, Spanish, and Drama clubs for volunteers, as they all encourage their membership to get involved. The Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Kids for Community, YMCA, Rotary Kiwanis all have youth and adults that want to get involved. Cleanup Day, International Coastal Cleanup, Trail Cleanup, you name it, and there's probably a program already created for a cleanup day. So the need to not only encourage youth involvement and volunteerism in our community, but provide the tools and the opportunity to get involved is paramount. Youth and adult involvement can be viewed at Providence Mount St. Vincent, a senior living community in Seattle that has established a licensed preschool where children and the elderly come together in an intergenerational care home. Both young and old interact on a daily basis with shared games, cooking lessons, and storytelling sessions. Practical benefits include increased communication skills, seniors teaching young minds new tricks, and the children engaging with and entertaining the residents in a way that children always do. This intergenerational exposure goes beyond an emotional bond and life lessons learned, and the benefits are seen in not only the children, but in the adults as well. Moving on to floral displays, the evaluation description is as follows: flowering annuals, perennials, bulbs, tropical plants, and colorful foliage for season-round interest for displays in containers, hanging baskets, window boxes, raised planters, trellises, and in-ground beds. The advisors selected as their first choice displays found throughout the community and plant combinations that create visual interest, dramatic effect, and are properly selected for the location. The advisors will look at arrangements, originality, distribution, diversity, balance, quality of the maintenance, and seasonal flowers and displays that provide year-round interest around the community, at entryways, on Main Street near government buildings, and in the parks. Using this Main Street garden, for example, you can see that it has been planted with only 2 varieties that are suitable for their location, and because they are larger varieties, they make a big impact. Yet they are easy to care for and have been well maintained. Large containers are a permanent fixture on the street of this community and add continuous color all year long. Texture, scale, and the overall health and beauty of the planting is taken into consideration. Are your containers replanted with the changing season? Do businesses have containers in front of their stores? Do you solicit the help of master gardeners? Do you plant herbs in your containers? All good questions to ask. If possible, add hanging baskets to your lampposts along the main corridor of your community, park entryways, and intersections. Hanging baskets allow the eye to look upwards and fill what could be a very empty space with color and increases the beauty of the area. Keep hanging baskets moist through irrigation, liners, and/or containers designed to collect, save, and slowly give back water to the plants. Appropriate varieties should be selected for size, structure, color, texture, and environmental conditions. Large spectacular displays that are well maintained are attractive and great for the environment. They have a way of getting us into the gardening spirit and encouraging others to take their own yard to the next level. The advisors selected the following as their second choice: effective communications about selection and care of flowers for beautification and pollinator habits as their next metric. If you are looking for ways to reach your residents with planting ideas, look at the Plant by Numbers program offered on the City of Lexington, Kentucky's website. This website is beneficial for residents who want a beautiful, low-maintenance, pollinator-friendly landscape, but just don't know where to start. Inspired by Paint by Numbers, the program provides planogram ideas for sun and shade, along with guidance on what to plant and where to plant it. Are you working with your local extension office or garden center? A link to each can be posted on the community website and will open up a whole new world of information to your residents, including educational seminars, pruning, pest management, and how to even become a master gardener or master naturalist. These professionals can provide information on the right plant in the right place, varieties suitable for the planograms that you will create, and where to go to purchase the varieties. The third area for floral display is recognition programs in place for attractive displays by businesses and residents. Work with your local garden clubs, master gardeners, garden centers, and the Parks and Recreation Department to select a yard of the month from both the business community and your residents. Recognize a different garden each month with a sign in their yard, a photo in the paper, and on the community website. And at the end of the year, select one overall business and one overall residential winner. You'll excite your community and will see an increase in the number of participants each year. Overall, it will make a big difference in your community. Let's move on to landscaped areas. As defined on the evaluation, plants and related programs for their leadership, design, installation, and maintenance of landscape. This includes shrubs, ornamental grasses, vines, succulents, edibles, turf, and ground covers. In addition, the advisors will look for good use of design principles, including balance of plant material and constructed elements, harmony, color, texture, and focal points. A few more questions to ask yourself include, have you integrated lighting and hardscapes into your landscaped areas? Do you have a plan for routine and emergency maintenance, including weeds, mulching practices, and edging? How do you handle storm damage or vandalism? Can we find community gardens, sensory gardens, pollinator gardens, and backyard wildlife habitats in your community? The first metric that the advisors overwhelmingly selected under landscaped areas is as follows. Municipal landscape ordinance requires landscaping and maintenance for new and/or improved commercial development and for new residential developments. Why is a good landscape ordinance important? Landscaping contributes to the health, safety, and welfare of a community by enhancing its character and scenic beauty, providing clean air, reducing noise, preventing erosion of topsoil, reducing the rate of stormwater runoff, providing habitat for wildlife, and providing shade. A good landscape ordinance will address general design principles and standards, selection and installation of plant materials, maintenance, minimum landscape coverage requirements, foundation plantings, and parking lot landscaping. Specifically, these regulations, when properly implemented, are intended to minimize the adverse impact of a number of objectionable impacts on public and private property. The use of native vegetation in managed landscapes may provide additional ecologic, economic, and aesthetic benefits, such as less water and maintenance, and require no fertilization or pesticides. The root system will help to stabilize and build fertile soils rich in organic matter. Number 2 on the advisor's list for landscaped areas includes landscaping found throughout the community and at key locations. Landscaping adds color and beauty and helps to increase the value of everyone's property. So is it any wonder that the more we landscape, the better it is for everyone? Homes, stores, businesses, government buildings can all use a good dose of well-maintained landscaping. Simplicity goes a long way in this example of landscaping. Neat and tidy, appropriately pruned trees, drought-resistant plants, well-mulched, and the addition of a bike rack with a different twist all pull this area together for an attractive entryway to a government building. This community is cooling the temperature of a parking lot, and the cars parked there through the addition of trees, shrubs, and perennials. It is also very pleasing to the eye and adds beauty into what can typically be a barren parking lot. The St. Charles, Illinois website has a listing of what they feel are the best plants for their area, including ground covers, perennials, and ornamental grasses. The list includes information such as the botanic and common name, if it is a native, drought tolerance, sun or shade tolerance, and if it is encouraged along arterials. This list is useful for municipal, business, and residential plantings. Next, let's discuss urban forestry. As defined on the evaluation, it is trees and related programs for the leadership, management, design, installation, and maintenance of public and private lands. Advisors will also look at the distribution, variety, and suitability of trees, new plantings, an urban tree program, qualified personnel, frequency of tree surveys, succession plantings, and Tree City USA. The following is the advisor's top pick in urban forestry. Tree board, commission, or department is active and qualified personnel are on staff, and such as arborists or urban foresters. Why is a tree board important to my community? A tree board is an advocate for public trees and forest management. They get work done by helping with tree inventory, educational campaigns, a planting program, and a tree ordinance. They help bring in additional resources by applying for grants, soliciting private donations, and organizing fundraisers. They reduce potential conflicts by providing a forum for reviewing complaints, addressing safety issues, and making a recommendation to the community. They can help raise public awareness by educating residents about the importance of tree and urban forestry. And because it is a requirement, they can help you become involved in Tree City USA. So then, do I really need an arborist? Arborists are specially trained and licensed to work in every aspect of tree care, from evaluations to pruning to the diagnosis and treatment of infections and disease. Arborists are not only responsible for the health of the trees in your community, they also help to ensure the safety of the people who live and work there. They are certified to handle jobs that can be dangerous for untrained people, such as climbing into trees to prune large and potentially unstable branches. They are also trained to identify potential issues with trees before they become a bigger problem. According to the advisors, the number 2 metric under urban forestry is current practice includes appropriate selection and diversity of tree species being planted. Adding trees to a main street provides beauty as well as shady areas for the community and visitors to come, sit, and enjoy. It is important to select the appropriate tree varieties as well as provide routine and proper maintenance. Biodiverse forests are less vulnerable to pests, diseases, and climate change. The risks of having monocultures within the urban forests have played out negatively as outbreaks of Dutch elm disease and the emerald ash borer have left death and canopy voids. Planting a single variety to create impact and uniformity on a residential or business street is no longer a standard practice by cities. For communities that still have streets lined with a single variety of trees, consider a replacement project or succession plantings with different varieties over the next several years. Urban tree diversity is important when attempting to create a healthy, beneficial, and resilient urban forest. Having a variety of trees can increase the aesthetic value for residents and create habitats for plants and animals. Adding a list of acceptable and unacceptable trees to your city website will help residents make the right choice when it comes time to add or replace a tree on their property. Number 3 on the advisor's list of top metrics for urban forestry includes tree inventory for public areas is complete and current within the past 10 years. To effectively manage community trees, a tree inventory is a valuable tool and is essential in developing a management plan. It is particularly useful in mitigating liability should a tree cause damage or injury to life or property. Managing tree care, planting, pruning, and removals in a cost-effective way can also be improved by a tree inventory. There are a number of ways a tree inventory can be done. Staff, volunteers, or outside data collecting companies can all do the legwork. A full inventory of all trees on community property can be collected, or only street trees, for example, if the community budget does not initially allow for a full inventory. A program can still be started by collecting only hazardous tree information. Managing for liability and safety are good starts in establishing a complete urban forestry program. Standard information typically collected for each tree includes location, species, diameter, condition, and utility and sidewalk conflicts. Available planting space at each location is also useful information to collect for planning future urban forest needs. GIS is a popular tool to use. It not only streamlines the tree inventory, but allows you to see a map of all community-owned trees. Moving on to environmental efforts, as defined in the evaluation, it includes environmental leadership, policies, plans, and programs for resource conservation, pollution control, trash, recycling and reuse, and alternative fuel vehicles. The advisors will also look at the following areas: sustainability practice and development strategies, policies and bylaws, hazardous waste minimization and collection for oil, paint, chemicals, and so forth, water quality and conservation, environmental cleanup activities, reducing your carbon footprint, LEED certification, air, noise, and light pollution, rain gardens and rain barrels, composting, energy efficiency, and youth programs. The advisors selected as their #1 metric environmental advisory board and/or green teams in place. Recognizing that the quality of life is linked to a healthy environment, an environmental advisory board can typically advise a community in ways to reduce the use of and impact on the community's natural resources. This can be done through a comprehensive and continuous review of best practices and innovation. By providing feedback and advice on policies, ordinances, and administrative procedures regarding environmental protection and the conservation of energy and natural resources, the Environmental Advisory Board will have a positive impact on your community. The board can also identify and assess policy alternatives and standards of environmental stewardship, including wetland restoration, recycling, electric charging stations, waste reduction, energy conservation, reducing your carbon footprint, and environmentally friendly transportation, just to name a few. The #2 metric includes effective municipal civic education about environmental efforts for children and adults, including school curricula programs and events to encourage youth involvement, is next on the advisor's list. 7 hours and 38 minutes. That's how long the average American child spends using digital devices each day. All that screen time is preventing children from having green time. This so-called nature deficit disorder is thought to play a role in a range of behavioral and medical problems, including childhood obesity, nearsightedness, and poor attention spans. Playing in nature as a child can inspire a lifelong passion for protecting the environment. Events such as Earth Day, recycling days, bike to school days all help to educate our children on the importance of being aware and kind to the environment. Schedule routine cleanup activities, getting everyone involved, and find ways to make it fun. Schools can play a major role in the development of our children by designing the curriculum to incorporate gardening, the use of composters, rain barrels, and rain gardens. So the question is, are you working with your schools, local extension offices, the Office of Environmental Education, and your community government to create an annual schedule of programs and events suitable for adults and children to get involved with your environmental efforts? A few ideas include monitoring programs to help track the condition of your local waterways, a Monarch Way Station program, helping the elderly with cleaning up their property, and field trips to landfill facilities. For more ideas, check out the National Wildlife Federation website Green Hour program. Whatever it is, always make children a part of your eco-friendly activities and use each moment as a teaching opportunity. Number 3 on the advisor's list is residential curbside trash, recycling, and yard waste collection. Cities typically contract with a local waste company to pick up trash and recyclables for their residents at curbside, with a charge reflected in their utility bill for this service. Most pickups are scheduled weekly, with twice a week in warmer climates of the country. Keeping the trash contained and neat at curbside will require a specially made tote. This container is available in different sizes, usually 35 or 96 gallon, for both trash and recycled materials, depending on the use by each home. Some totes are color-coded. City ordinances usually require that trash and recyclables be placed in a tote before taking to the curb. These totes also work well to keep the trash away from animals and rodents. Posting a list of acceptable and unacceptable garbage items to the city website will help residents. The city of Augusta, Georgia has a waste wizard posted on their website. Residents can type in the name of an item into the box, and they'll tell you how to recycle or dispose of it. Popular searches include mattresses, tires, furniture, glass bottles, and jars. Many communities are now using biodegradable paper bags for yard waste. Some will allow their residents to pile yard waste directly at the curbside. Yard waste can include grass clippings, weeds, tree branches, and leaves. Each community has their own definition of what yard waste for pickup can include and the proper disposal. Keep your residents informed of the proper way to treat the yard waste, as well as their pickup date, by posting this information on the community website. Many communities will mulch some of the live goods collected and either use it on municipal properties or make it available for residential pickup and use in their own landscape. Let's move on to celebrating heritage. As described in the evaluation, celebrating heritage is the recognition, designation, protection, commemoration, and celebration of historical, cultural, natural, agricultural, and industrial resources. Advisors will look at the preservation and restoration of buildings, homes, churches, cemeteries, heritage sites, monuments, historical gardens, trees, and artifacts. Ask yourself, do you have a historical society? Do you have a heritage advisory committee, museums, archives? Are there history books in your community and land trusts, conservation easements? Are there ordinances and policies in place for the protection of structures and sites from demolition or development? Do you hold festivals and parades to commemorate your community's heritage? First on the advisor's list is as follows. Historic Preservation Ordinance effectively provides commercial and residential designation and protection from demolition. Keep in mind that historic preservation ordinances must be consistent with the specific grant of authority conferred by your state. In other words, protection for historic properties must correspond with the regulatory scope of applicable enabling laws. Developing a preservation ordinance demonstrates the willingness of a community to recognize, invest in, and protect its historic character. If you currently do not have a preservation ordinance in place or need to update it, keep in mind these 10 basic components that should be included. Statement of purpose, definitions, creation of a preservation committee, powers and duties of the commission, procedures for historic landmark and district designation, criteria for designating historic properties, procedures and standards for reviewing alterations and demolition, how and when to determine economic hardship, penalties, and the appeal process. In communities with historic architecture, adaptive reuse is a form of historic preservation. It restores culturally significant sites that would otherwise be left to decay or demolished. A great example of adaptive reuse is the Bob. Short for Big Old Building, this 70,000 square foot, 4-story red brick structure was constructed in 1903 as Judson's Grocery Warehouse, but it stood vacant for decades before it was saved from demolition. It is now a destination in downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan for food, craft beers, and a whole lot of fun, attracting both locals and visitors. Second on the advisors list is historical publications and websites, interpretive signage, tours, and programs in place. Being an historic community with deep roots and buildings worth preserving is only the tip of the iceberg. You'll want to promote and identify your historic landmarks through signs that designate each historic location and building, along with dates and facts that will serve as an educational tool. Historic walking tours, whether guided, a self-tour, or through an app, are a great way to get your residents and visitors acquainted with the history of your community. If you currently have an historic tour, do you have a brochure available at City Hall outlining the tour trail along with historical facts and information on each stop for those that do not have a cell phone? Write and publish articles about the historic landmarks in your town. Choose historic magazines such as American History or Preservation Magazine. Routinely post information on Facebook, the internet, and any other forum to help get your information out. Identify your historic districts by adding signature brown historic district street signs within the historic districts to easily alert both residents and visitors to the boundaries. Communities may be able to secure a grant from a state landmarks preservation foundation that works with historic landmark commissions to underwrite these historical markers. If you haven't already, start to document the oral histories of your residents, including those that served in the military. These recordings can bring history to life in a unique way as you listen to the voice of these individuals talk about their experiences in their own words. Share these recordings with the schools so that students can hear what life was like in their community many years ago. StoryCorps is a national nonprofit oral history organization whose mission is to provide Americans of all backgrounds and beliefs with the opportunity to record, share, and preserve the stories of our lives. Number 3 on the advisor's pick is a historic preservation and/or architectural review board in place and effective. A historic or architectural review board is usually a citizen board appointed by the mayor or the city council. The board will keep an eye out and protect the landmarks and historical treasures of your community. A historic preservation board will also provide advice and guidance to property owners and government agencies concerning historic preservation issues. They can recommend designation of properties and historically sensitive areas as worthy of preservation. They can protect and promote historic districts. An historic preservation board can also participate in and support the nomination of worthy properties to the state and national registers of historic places. They can help to preserve the character and authenticity of a historic building, and they can help to save an historic building from demolition. Let's review overall impression. As stated in the evaluation, adequate and effective amenities are provided in good condition, and the community is welcoming and attractive. In more detail, the advisors will also keep an eye out for just about everything in your community. For example, lack of littering, graffiti, sidewalks, curbs, lack of weeds, vandalism not evident, playgrounds, sculptures, water features, just to name a few. In order of importance, the advisor's pick for their number 1 metric is code enforcement or compliance officer on municipal staff and codes are enforced. A code enforcement officer specializes in the prevention, detection, and enforcement of the violation of laws. They ensure that businesses and residents are in compliance with public health safety, public works, business activities, building standards, and more. Upon discovering violations, they promptly send out warning notices, assist owners in taking corrective steps, and charge penalties if non-compliance persists. A good compliance officer will be able to work through a solution with the individual that is in non-compliance to the satisfaction of both. An active compliance officer will be able to stay on top of any issues that arise and take care of them before they get out of control. A compliance officer, however, is only as good as your ordinances, so a routine review of those ordinances, although time-consuming, is truly beneficial. Number 2 is the important metrics according to advisors is design style determined, applies, and consistent for site furnishings, crosswalks, gateway entry features, banners, wayfinding signage, and so forth. A clean and tidy community, along with gateway entry signs and coordinated furnishings, all make an impression on the first-time visitor to your community. A few questions to ask yourself are, do I feel welcome? Does this look like a place I want to stop and explore? Or do I want to keep driving right through and stop at the next town? Every entryway in your community says a lot about you and is a chance to make visitors feel welcome. This is so important as it plays a role in determining what a potential visitor's next steps are going to be. Unobstructed welcome signs that are easy to read and a step above a typical street sign will be noticed by visitors. Be sure to add plant material with built-in irrigation, and if the budget allows, add a bit of hardscape. Oh, and don't forget to add your America in Bloom sign. Now that you have adequately welcomed your visitors, give them a helping hand with wayfinding signage that is clear and accurate. Nothing is more frustrating than going around in circles or getting lost when arriving at your new destination. Be sure the design of your wayfinding signs complements the rest of your furnishings throughout the community. The next metrics is the condition of roadways, road shoulders, curbs, medians, sidewalks, railroad crossings, and so forth. The condition of every one of these areas says a lot about your community and can either add or detract along with everything you have done to take it to the next level. Are you taking good care of your infrastructure? Are you routinely using a street sweeper? Are the directional and crosswalk lines easy to see? Do I have to avoid potholes when driving through town? Safety should be a community's #1 priority. Be sure your sidewalks are not uneven, driveway aprons are cracking, or curbs crumbling. Is driving on your community streets hazardous to my health with potholes or manhole covers that are sunken? The condition of your roads, curbs, medians, and sidewalks can make a difference in the beauty of your community and help you to avoid litigation. Often referred to as the world's busiest intersection, thousands of pedestrians scramble across Tokyo's Shibuya crossing daily. Good thing it's so well marked with crosswalks and curbs, and the condition of the roadway is top-notch. Now let's talk a little bit about your preparation for the advisor's visit. On your evaluation, you'll find a section called Evaluation Tour Prep. The definition of the evaluation tour prep is a community's readiness prior to and the action during the evaluation tour. On the advisor's list, #1 is community profile provided to advisors at least 2 weeks prior to the first official evaluation date, and from a returning community makes it clear what is new and or implemented from the advisor's recommendation from a prior year. Today and in years to come, your community profile will be extremely valuable as it serves as the window to your community for businesses and residents considering relocating to your area, as well as others that may want to include your community in their travel plans. Take the time to complete it, and once accomplished, take time each year to add new information to each criterion, including events taking place, the awards you have received, and future plans. The advisors will want to get a glimpse of your community before they arrive, so they are able to do some additional research, start to formulate some thoughts and ideas, and be prepared for their tour. This is the reason we ask that your community profile arrive in your advisor's hands at least 2 weeks prior to their arrival. If you are a returning community, be sure to highlight or note the changes that have taken place since the last time the advisors visited your community. When you are ready, post the community profile to your website and share it with the Chamber of Commerce, real estate agents, residents, and businesses. Number 2 in order of importance includes evaluation report metrics were adequately addressed in the community profile, the evaluation tour itinerary, and during the evaluation tour. The metrics in the evaluation report are strongly used in evaluating your community. That's why you'll want to review each one ahead of time and make sure each is addressed in both your community profile and on your tour. This will allow the advisors to take the basics and go another step further. Even if you are not engaged in certain metrics, the advisors can provide possible opportunities and ideas to get you up and running. Number 3 on the advisors list is enough time was allotted for advisors to work on the evaluation tour report in a quiet place with adequate Wi-Fi availability. There is so much each community wants to share during the advisors tour, and the advisors feel the same way. While still fresh in their minds, it will be important for the advisors to get what was experienced that day down on paper or into a laptop. Photos need to be downloaded and additional notes from the day's itinerary compared. There is a lot to cover, and you'll definitely want the advisors to be able to have an adequate amount of time to make the best assessment of your community before moving on to the next day or the next community. The heart of a community lies in the strength of its volunteer base. Getting residents and businesses involved in projects and playing a part in government all adds to the cooperative effort and the movement of the community. Oftentimes, residents want to get involved, but just don't have a clue how to go about doing it. Reach out to possible volunteers at local festivals, fairs, through the community website and events. Create an email list of those that would like to get involved and begin communicating with them. The more you are able to get residents and businesses involved, the more you will see a positive effect in your community. According to Deloitte, nearly 9 out of 10 working Americans believe that companies who sponsor volunteer activities offer a better overall working environment than those who do not. They believe volunteer activities are more likely to boost employee morale, and volunteering is essential to employee well-being. All good reasons to reach out to the business community and work together. All of us at American Bloom are happy you are working on being the best your community can be, and together we can make it happen. It has been a pleasure to bring this information to you today. If you have any questions, please reach out to any of the American Bloom advisors. Thank you.
Hey, Sue.
Linda, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. What a great day it's been here.
It has been, and what a great session. Extremely informative. I have a couple of thoughts. You know, so many of us have been out of the judges coming in, showing them around, doing the community profile, looking at the evaluation, the matrix. And this was such a great refresher for all of us to be able to say, hey, when we go back at it, you know, keep all of this in mind. And during your session, I was texting with Laura to ask her, you know, when Holland goes back to this and we start looking at our matrix again and looking at all those line items, this was an excellent resource to be able to have this video to go through line by line to look at all of those items so that we really understanding what you're looking for or what the judges are looking for. So she did say that, yes, it would be available. It would be made available as a YouTube video. So kudos to her and kudos to you. I think it's certainly going to be very, very helpful as we move into 2022. Now that said, a question I do have for you is, it's a lot. If you are a new community and getting into the program, what tips do you have for, somebody, let's say like a Hawthorne Woods, who'd be like, whoa, this was a lot, because we did change it. A couple of years ago, we did go from one type of judging, not type of judging, but the way it looked for the criteria was laid out. It looked slightly different. So what tips would you have for a new community getting involved, and or what tips would you have for, let's say, a community who's been doing this and, like a Holland, that we need to get back into it?
I would just say, just be yourself. Every community has something great going on, and I think every community has some challenges. So if you're able to just share that with the judges, we can, maybe give you some additional information, ideas, thoughts, and particularly in the areas that you might need a little bit of help with. So being yourself is, we're just coming in. Don't think of us as anything more than advisors. And, but don't be afraid. We're there to share what we have with you, and for everybody to make their place a great place to live and to work and to play.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So if I'm a new community and I'm filling this out, there are resources for communities through America in Bloom, the advisors that we can reach out to you to say, hey, I'm kind of stuck on this section or this area. What does this really mean that America in Bloom can help communities work through those?
Yeah, judges are great. They, pick up the phone anytime, send an email, text, we do it all. And it's just, stay in communication with us. We're there to help you through every step of the way. And it's, especially for first timers, it is a little bit overwhelming, but we're there to kind of soothe your soul and to keep you from jumping off the cliff and help you through the process. So use us, I guess, is the best way to answer that.
That's a great answer. And I also think that, a lot of communities, surrounding communities, reach out to other communities, that are within your area or not within your area, to say, hey, you've been in this program for a while, and let them help you. I mean, I remember when Midland, Michigan was in it, and they reached out to Holland to say, hey, we want to be in this program, and can you help us through it? And so there was like a mentorship there, which, it was an honor to be able to help them and mentor them through. So having multiple resources, the video, the advisors, the judges, other communities, certainly shouldn't be, at the end of the day, it shouldn't be so overwhelming that you're like, I can't do this, because it certainly is such a great program. And there's a lot of resources that people can tap into.
Well, it's a wonderful network, as we all know. And the more you utilize it, the better, the more you get out of it. And I think Pam said that as well. We really, it's a great community. And we saw through many of the presentations this week that all you have to do is reach out to any of the other America in Bloom communities, and we're there to help one another. And you'll see that in our evaluations too. We'll make recommendations on maybe call this community and they work with them. They're in your backyard or whatever, and they'll be able to give you some tips and recommendations on what they went through, how they got to a certain point in time, and just help you all out with whatever it is that you're working on.
Yeah, that's a really good point also. Absolutely. Well, I think we are a little late, because I kept talking too much on the previous sessions, as I keep getting reminded. So I'm just gonna say thank you so much. It was such a pleasure listening and learning again, as a reminder. And as always, Sue, it's such a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for participating in the symposium.
Thank you, Linda. We'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.